Opening statement, then we'll go to questions.
Yeah, well, obviously after a big win against a quality team, and guys feel a lot better about themselves. But I keep reminding our guys that in this league, a big win could be every game you play, because I don't think there are any small wins right now. It's incredible what this league is like. We played some of our best defense this past game. And I mean that from a standpoint of what we did, not just that they missed some shots, but I was very pleased by our energy and, our attention to detail. And of course, had to be disappointed in something. So I was disappointed in the turnovers, especially those turnovers in that first half. I mean, they were borderline ridiculous. And, going back and looking at the tape, there were just a lot of reasons that we did it. None of them were good, but some of them were definitely correctable. Aaron, in one phase, is playing his best basketball ever. He's had 2 or 3 games now in a row where I think he's doing the things that he needs to do. At Minnesota, he didn't make shots. Now he's been making shots, but he's really getting the ball to the rim. And his defense the other night, playing 34 minutes and kind of playing both ends, reminiscent of a Gary Harrison type guys like that who are getting it done. I thought Joey and Rocket both had better second halves than first half, so that was encouraging because we need those guys if we're going to become a real good team. A couple new faces for Purdue, but the record that Matt has had, the track record, has been tremendous as a coach in this league. I mean, he's done some incredible things. Winning consistently. I have great respect for their program. Travion Williams, a guy that, we looked at hard and they got him, and he's a double-double machine is what he is. He can rebound, he can score. He's just becoming a great player in this league, not a good player. And, unfortunately, we love Travion from Detroit, and great kid. So they return starting backcourt from last year in Hunter and Stefanovic. And Stefanovic is a guy that's shooting 50-some% from the 3. Hunter is a very athletic, quick guard who's done a lot of good things for them. Thompson is also a pair of, he makes Stefanovic and him, Hunt and Thompson are 2 guys that really can fill it up. So we're going to have to guard the 3. They're among the better 3-point shooters in the league. So I'm looking at it as a big challenge again, because you just came off a 9:00 game. And I got to tell you, that's getting a little harder, when we have these games and another game, and trying to get guys to prepare. And preparing for a game like Purdue is difficult because they run a lot of motion. So it's not as easy to pick it apart. You got to watch a lot of film, and they've got to watch a lot. But I think the players have done as good a job as they can in a 2-day prep, and hopefully we'll be ready to play tomorrow. Questions?
We'll start first with Chris Solari.
Hey, Tom, I wondered, coming off the turnovers, particularly so many of them were in the first half, how much do you think is that just getting adjusted to having a new point guard? Because I know you mentioned about the spacing issues, and some of the things that AJ does going down the lane may be a little different than the other guys.
Well, they were, and AJ had some, but Aaron had some where he caught the ball in the wing and just traveled on the break. Gabe had one of those. I mean, those are just, it doesn't matter if I was the point guard. Those kind of things that happen are just things that happen, to be honest with you. And those are the ones that I guess I could live with. There were a couple of 1 or 2 screening ones that, are okay. But the ones that AJ created are, him going a little too fast. And that's partially because of a new point guard. But nobody's going to put the pressure on you that Purdue does. So we've worked hard to shore that up. It's going to be an important part of the game, I think, on Friday night.
Go next to Kyle Austin from MLive.
Hey, Tom, obviously coming off a great defensive performance, but maybe a little different challenge with Travion now, a guy that Xavier, I think, would have been a key for last year. Who do you kind of look to this year for guys like him to be able to slow him down?
Well, in all honesty, we were pleased with the defense that Hauser and, Johnson and Harper are no easy guards. They're different. They're different, but we're going to throw the kitchen sink at them. You know, we're going to have those two guys. We're going to bring in Marcus, who did a pretty good job against them last year with his length. We're going to bring in Marty and maybe Julius, you know. So we're going to throw a lot of people at them. And yet what normally happens with Purdue is you start worrying about the post and they beat you from the three. So we've got to defend both. We can't get, you know, Travion's going to get some buckets. Okay, he's a great player. And we can't let that interfere with, you know, stopping the three-point shot, because eventually that's what the twos hurt you, the threes kill you.
We'll go next to Lindsey Huddleston.
Hey, Tom, I want to talk about things happen on a larger scale, the huge distraction that's happened for a lot of people watching the national media. Can you talk about the power of sports right now? Sometimes it's a welcome distraction, but now it's kind of like a needed distraction for some people, that your program can allow people to lock in for a few hours and kind of get their mind off all the other things going on in the world?
It's a damn good question. And I didn't watch a lot of it because the little I watched made me sick. It was a disgrace, I think, to all of us. And in all honesty, nothing like that should be tolerated. I can only do what I can do here, and hopefully I have a platform to help others, and hopefully my players do. And I think you bring up a good point, but we're going to continue to demand and work with our players to treat everyone with respect. I didn't see anybody respecting anybody yesterday. Not what I saw. Not what I saw at our state capitol, and not what I saw at the national capitol in Washington, D.C. over the last 4 or 5 months. And take nothing away. I'm 100% agreeing that people should protest. But I've never agreed with protests that led to destruction of property or lives being lost. And as they say, I think Draymond said it, that wasn't a protest, that was a riot. And I didn't think there was any class or character showed in that. But my responsibility to my team, to my own kids, to the players, to this place I have, is to make sure that we respect everyone, honor everyone. I don't care if you're white or black or Hispanic or Jewish. I don't care if you're young or old. I really don't care if you're rich or poor. If we want equality, equality covers everything. And equality covers some of the things that went on yesterday. And I'm hoping that each and every individual that was involved in that is held responsible. But I'm going to continue to represent and kind of shoot for total equality in our program, our university, hopefully our state and our country. And those are big goals. So I can control one in my mind. I can control the one here. And I can start to control or help control the one in our state. But I don't know enough about it, Lindsey, to continue, except that I was disgusted and disgraced by what went on. And it makes it very difficult to see things like that happen and then have to go talk to your players and think of some of the things that have happened over the summer and not feel there is some injustice. And so, you know what? I don't consider that kind of protest American. I really don't. And I'm just going to stick with what I said and handle things the best I can handle here. But it makes me want to fight even harder for this equality that we all need, and makes me fight harder for protesting. I agree with protesting. I think people got to be able to say and do what they think. It's just we got to quit getting to this destructive way and lives being lost. And that's what I'm shooting for, Lindsey.
All right, thank you for sharing that, Tom.
We'll go next to Matt Charbonneau.
Tom, yeah, it feels weird sometimes after what we saw yesterday to talk basketball, but obviously we get back to it tomorrow. And going back to the defense, you know, Rutgers came in a pretty good three-point shooting team, and you guys did a good job on that. Purdue, the same thing. What's going to be the key? What can you take from the other night to Friday to kind of limit these guys in terms of three-point shooting?
You know, I could make it real simple. And to answer your first part of your question and the end of Lindsey's, I do hope sports can do something to bring our country together. You know, like I said all the time, I I think my guys are role models. I want them to be role models. We're not perfect. But I also think that, locker rooms prove that people from different races, creeds, different backgrounds can all get together. And when they do, we can form an incredible team. And so I hope sports does bring that. So I'm glad we are getting back to sports. At the same time, I think our defense in that game, we just played harder. And, you can't play a team like Purdue and say they're going to go here on this play and there on that play, because it's more of a freelance motion offense that he's been very effective with since Gene Katie was there. So I told our guys, we're going to have to make some plays defensively, but what we got to do is stay disciplined and a lot of back cutting and contest threes and try to do a decent job on Travion. It's not only that he's a scorer, he is by far, and I mean this with incredible respect, the best passing big man I've seen in this league in a long time. There's been some decent ones, but I don't think anybody's done a better job of passing the ball. I mean, I've seen him throw it over his head, behind his back, flipped it here and there. He's just done an incredible job of passing the ball too. So those are the things we got to stop. And I think you do it with energy. Who's kidding who? At Minnesota, we didn't have it. The other night we did. Can we get consistent energy?
Go next to Ryan Elke.
Hey, Tom. Really, for Purdue, you see someone as big as Zach Edey at 7'4", and it seems like Purdue always has someone over 7 foot. How do you attack someone of that size, and considering this is kind of the start of the big size you'll see in the Big Ten?
It is kind of, you're right. And he's a monster, man. I mean, I've never seen anything. I've seen some big guys there. They had a 7'3" guy, but not only is he 7'4", but his arms got to be, like octopus arms, and his feet. I mean, he is a big guy. And Matt has unbelievably done a great job over the years with different guys like that. And where you watch them in high school, and they can't run very good. And, he has a great knack of turning them into something special. This kid, if you watch him, he's got some skills. He's got pretty good hands. He's young yet and learning, but I don't know how you go at him. I mean, I think you got to go right through his chest, because he's going to block shots if you go away from him. And maybe, as I always try to put guys like that in a lot of ball screens and make them work on defense. But he is going to be an interesting guy to watch as we go forward, because they've had a factory down there of doing it with 7-footers, as you said.
We have time for a couple more questions. We'll go first to Chris Solari.
We talked so much about the defense the other night and then again today, but the rebounding component of that, I think that, after getting out rebounded those last 2 games, I imagine that's probably something that not only you emphasize, but you're happy with seeing again.
Well, usually, as we always say, the motto of this program has been defend, the rebound, and run. And if you don't defend well, you probably don't rebound as well, because if you don't defend well, people are driving to the basket, and they're scoring baskets, which is harder to run off of. But if they're driving, then you don't rebound as well, because your bigs are helping out and stuff. I thought we did a good job of taking away the dribble penetration, which Purdue does very well too, and I think that helped us a lot. But it's we got to defend, rebound, and run. I mean, that's a big part of our program, big part of our team, and that's one of the things going into Nebraska we talked about. We've got to do a better job of that, and it starts with the defense. The defense doesn't end until you got the rebound, and then the offense starts.
We'll go last question to Kyle Austin.
Hey, Tom, just want to ask you, so far in Big Ten play, the home winning percentage has been pretty much the same as in past years, which I think, at least to me, was a little surprising. What in your mind has still made it, I guess, maybe a little easier to win at home and maybe a little tougher to win on the road, even with the environment's not the same?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And there's been a few more games, one on the road nationally, but I still think there's an aura of an arena. There's a comfort level of the home team. There's sleeping in their own beds. Um, their days not spending in a hotel or something. I mean, I just think there's a process throughout the day that makes it a little better to be at home. But I think you'll see more, I don't know if they're upsets, but more, you can't be at a place like Michigan State or Purdue or Kansas or Kentucky or, wherever that has tremendous years of great home crowds, that it doesn't have some effect on you. But we know it's not going to have as big an effect as it used to have unless I can get all those cutouts to be voice activated. If I could do that, I could take care of the noise in the arena and getting on the officials a little bit. So I'll work on that. But other than that, I just think you're a little more comfortable at home, but I don't think it's as big a deal without the crowd. It really isn't. And I think you're going to see that. I think there are more teams that have won on the road. I just saw where, was it Alabama won at
Florida,
Tennessee, right? and then Texas beat the heck out of Kansas at Kansas. Kansas loses, one home game a decade. So there's some that have changed, but I think the reason is probably what I said, that you just have a better comfort level at home.
We'll go back to one more with Matt Charbonneau.
Tom, I did want to ask you a little bit about Malik. I know you've mentioned him a couple times as playing well. It seems like kind of quietly we haven't really talked about him a whole lot. He's rebounding well. Seems like he's defending well. Do you see him kind of right on that edge of really kind of taking a big jump, maybe even offensively at this point? Confidence?
I do. He's been shooting the ball better. He is kind of my perfect guy right now because he can sub in at different positions. I think before he's done, he's going to be able to play the 2, 3, 4, and 5 even, as small lineups, big lineups. As I said, very cerebral player and cerebral kid. So he picks up everything. He's getting more confidence. I bet he's been as steady as anybody. Maybe not the same role as Aaron or same role as this guy or that guy, but as far as steadiness, consistency, he's been pretty solid. You can look up and say, hey, he's going to probably get you 5.5 rebounds. He's going to be able to, Kithier did a pretty good job, Hauser a little bit, but the job that was done on Harper was a lot Malik, and I thought he did a great job. So he gives us a chance to, move some guys around, and yet nothing really bothers him. If he comes off the bench, if he scores a few buckets or doesn't, he's been steady as a rock, and every coach needs a guy who's steady as a rock. So I do see him improving, getting better, getting a little bit more time, and seeing what we can do with him.
Seems like too he's not really affected much by the moments like late in games. You have that trust that you can count on him. Does it seem like that? It seemed like he even had that late last year a little bit.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I was watching some games from last year throughout this first part of the Big Ten, and it was amazing how often he was in a little later in the game, even with Xavier. And I think that's because of the consistency and steadiness of him. So I love having him along, and I think he's going to get better. So let's keep hoping he does, and it should be a great game. Hopefully, Purdue, again, don't look at records. They had some guys sick early. Everybody went through different things. They played some good people early, lost a tough game. I think it was Florida State or somebody. So they've played some good people and have played well. And even games they lost, I mean, you look at it, I think they were at Iowa, at Illinois, and at Rutgers. I'm not sure it gets any tougher than that. And most of those games came down to the wire. So I'm expecting a lot out of Purdue and hopefully a lot out of Michigan State, and see if we can win another game. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach. And we'll be back with a couple players shortly. All right, everybody, I'm back, and we're about to be joined by Joshua Langford and then Malik Hall afterward. If we can go to questions in the chat, we'll start with Josh. And we'll go first to Lindsay Huddleston.
Hey, Josh. How
What's
you
up?
doing? Coach Izzo was really emphatic when he talked about the events that happened yesterday at the Capitol. Definitely has you guys back too. Can you talk about you being the leader and what it means when things are happening in the world and you guys got to get ready for a game like Purdue, but guys still have issues? What is it like for the teammates to deal with those type of things?
I think it's difficult because, at the end of the day, we are American citizens. So, it is disheartening and sad to see that going on. And so you have to have that fine balance because like you said, we do have a game coming up. And so we have to realize that, if we're not focused and in the best mindset that we can possibly be, to be the best we can be on our platform, then we're actually hindering ourselves to be able to promote the change that we can possibly promote through being able to bring healing and encouragement. So, you got to have that fine balance. You have to realize that you can't necessarily try to control the things that you can't control, but you have to control the things that you can control. And so, how we prepare and how well we play, that's actually going to be either, some support to people or it's not. And, sports right now is, especially with COVID and all the other injustices that has been going on in the world, is definitely has been bringing some light to people's lives. So we just want to continue to focus on our platform, but we are at the same time, we're sad about it, we're disheartened, and, we are concerned.
Well said. Thank you for that.
We'll go next to Chris Solari.
Josh, I kind of wondered over the years that you guys have played against Purdue. I mean, there's been some big games. There's been some big wins, big losses. How do you kind of view the rivalry right now between the two programs?
It's definitely exciting rivalry to be a part. Like you said, it's been some highs and some lows. They've got us, we've got them. And as a competitor, you always want to compete against the best teams. And so I'm always excited, when we get a chance to go up against Purdue. I think Coach Matt and he always has his guys ready. And they're unbelievable players. So it's definitely going to be a challenge. It's not going to be easy.
Go next to Matt Charbonneau.
Josh, Rutgers came in as a pretty good three-point shooting team. Purdue is that as well, but they've also got that presence down low with Travion Williams. What can you take from the defensive performance the other night against Rutgers and kind of move that forward to Purdue? What's the challenge of defending these guys?
I think, with defending Purdue, those guys are always unbelievable cutters. Their offense is kind of really spaced out. And, since I've been here, it's always been a challenge guarding, their offense. And so one thing that we have to emphasize is making sure that we're not relaxing. And then we always communicating. And then, like you said, we have to take that momentum that we have, from defending Rutgers and bring it into this game. I think, with how we played Rutgers, that was probably the best game we had in terms of being consistent, for almost 40 minutes in terms of defending. And so we just have to build off that.
Next question is from Kyle Austin.
Yeah, Josh, I just wanted to follow up on that. What was so different for you guys defensively against Rutgers compared to your last game? And how were you able to kind of turn the switch in that area so quickly?
I just think it's one word, consistency. And that's kind of been a word that we've kind of, rallied around throughout the course of the season and even before the season started. And, one thing that we kind of say before the game is 440, meaning that we want to go out and put 40 minutes together, realizing that we're not going to be perfect, but we can be consistent. The two are very different. And so, in terms of our defense, I think one thing that we've, done a better job of is communicating, being consistent in that area, and also not relaxing. Just playing Michigan State basketball, one of our principles is defending, along with rebounding and running. And that's what we do. That's what Michigan State Spartans do. And so, I think we're doing a great job, but still have a long ways to go. We have to just keep learning and keep building.
We'll go back to Chris Solari for one more.
I kind of wanted to see where you feel that Rocket is right now, both in his transition with playing some point guard as well as right now shifting back to the two guard more. What have you kind of counseled him on in maybe having a few limited minutes right now to kind of make some adjustments?
I think one of the hardest things to do in life is to be able to be consistent when you're going through a process. And Rocket is kind of going through a process right now. Like you said, he's playing a little bit of the one while still trying to play the two. And, it's so many different dynamics that you see that he's having to deal with. And so the thing that I kind of encourage him about is just making sure that he continues to just be who he is. He doesn't have to go out and be somebody that he's not. Coach wouldn't put him in a position that he didn't think he was capable of being in. And so, at the end of the day, he just has to continue to be himself. And so that's what I just, try to encourage him with, just reminding him that, hey, just be you. Being you is what got you here. And, along with everything else, you just have to continue to just keep trying to learn and just keep moving forward. And, he's done an unbelievable job, with dealing with that process because it's not easy. It's not easy being a point guard here at Michigan State. I know a lot of people, they do it so well. You get so used to Cassius. Cassius did it so well here, but he even took his lumps. And Coach is hard on his point guards. And so, but Rock is capable of it. And like I said, he's in the process, and I think he's doing a good job.
For you, just kind of as a follow, I mean, I noticed that you've kind of, in a lot of ways, taken him under your wing. You've done that with Aaron. I mean, do you feel like coaching's in your future at all?
I think some type of leadership, position in terms of maybe counseling or something like that. I don't necessarily know if I'll be a coach, but maybe a life coach. I don't know about basketball though.
All right, looks like that's all we have for you, Josh. We appreciate you taking the time,
Thank you.
and we'll be back shortly with Malik Hall. We are about to be joined by Malik Hall. So if we can direct questions to the chat. We'll go, give me a second here, folks. There's Malik. Malik, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, and we will go first to Lindsey Huddleston.
Hey, Malik, and watching some of your recent games and kind of just doing an overall evaluation, I think many of the press can agree. You've been like a glue guy lately, almost not really getting the proper recognition that you probably deserve, but you've still been kind of a workhorse. Can you talk a little bit more about what that experience has been like?
It's honestly, I had a conversation with Coach a couple weeks back, and he said that we needed some people and some players who were just going to step up and do the things that nobody really wanted to do and make those defensive plays and be that kind of hard-nosed person. I mean, it's something that I've always kind of wanted to be, along with being able to help lead some other players and stuff like that. So no, it's just something that we talked about, and he wanted me to fill that position.
Great, thank you.
We'll go next to Matt Charbonneau.
Like you mentioned some of those little things, and we're seeing it rebounding wise. We're seeing your versatility defensively, playing well in those aspects. Do you think that can help you offensively too? Are you finding a little bit more confidence there? Do you think that part of your game is going to kind of take off at this point as well?
I think it will. With the rebounding aspect, getting offensive rebounds kind of allows you to be in a position to either put it right back up or get it swung around where the other team has to scramble and, you know, even kind of push on a break, and it'll open some things up for my team and for me. But, I mean, offense will come with time. It's just part of the process.
I think how much better are you right now at knowing when, you know, kind of where to pick your spots offensively? I know early last year there were times where you did shoot the ball well, but other times you'd maybe take some shots early. How much further along are you in that now of knowing this is the time I can push it offensively as opposed to a year ago?
I think I'm a lot better at it, honestly. You know, freshman year, you come in with the jitters, and you don't really know where to search yourself and what you're going to be good at and what you're kind of not going to be good at. And I think I've done a lot of growing in that aspect.
Thanks.
Next question will go to Kyle Austin from MLive.
Hey, Malik, just wanted to jump back to Tuesday for a second and ask you about defending Ron Harper and what was kind of the mindset going into that, and how you were able to be successful in doing that.
I just knew he was a big time scorer. Watched a lot of his film with my roommate, and it was just something that I knew that I needed to lock in and help our team with if we're going to win that game. You know, he averaged like 23 or 24, something like that, I think. So I knew he scored a big chunk of their points, and it was just something that I really had to focus on and do for our team.
Go next to Chris Solari.
Kind of looking ahead to Purdue in that defensive aspect. I don't know how much you're going to match up against Travion Williams, but obviously when you got a big who can pass block to block, I mean, you got to be alert. I guess what have you seen on tape from him?
I definitely do love his passing. He has really good passing skills, and he can see the floor pretty well, along with being able to score in the post. It's something that'll be a tough guard, but, you know, just making sure that we always, you know, have our hand up in the post so that if he does try and pass it out or like try and pass and hit a cutter, that we're ready for it.
It's kind of a follow to that. How do you feel like the communicative aspect is right now between on the two guys on the block, from passing things off and helping each other?
You mean like the forward and the five? Is that
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. You know, we all practice, like, that's when they do guards and bigs. The forwards are always with the big, so we work on the same stuff. We communicate really well together. I think if you threw like any two people that are in the bigs lineup, like, they'd work out well together and be able to help each other no matter what.
I don't see any further questions for Malik. Do you have time for one or two more? If not, we can end shortly here. And not seeing any further questions, we're going to say thank you to Malik.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, Malik. See you.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Thanks, Max.
See you.
And we will see everyone tomorrow.
Guys too. Bye.